Hello everyone and welcome to a VOD review. It has been late in the week, I apologize. But I just had stuff going on and Twitch decided to hate me. So we're going to be doing it late, but hopefully late is better than never. We're going to be looking at the Los Angeles Gladiators taking on the Toronto Defiant. And this was the big story for the weekend that most recently happened. The Gladiators go 0-4 in the Summer Showdown. And honestly shocking, they won the last two tournaments, including the midseason one, which was a global event. They look to be one of the most dominant teams in the league, and they are not going to go to the LAN in Toronto. Yes, before people come out at me, it's like, well, mathematically, it is possible for them to make the They're not going to make it. Like, there is very, 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 very unlikely that they will make it. There is a perfect scenario where a couple of teams blow out and Gladiators win the next two and then map scores and then that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. If that happens, I'll admit that I was wrong, but it's so unlikely that they will qualify at a 2-4. On the positive side, let's look at the Toronto Defiant, who is very likely to make their own LAN. They are 3-1 now. They have been looking very good in this meta. Hotbar on that Junker Queen, Chorong Twilight, dominant backline, although on the Genji has been finally coming into some form, and the Heese is always lease. So let's talk about this and go over the match as it happens. Happy is obviously the newest addition to the Los Angeles Gladiators. It's a nice problem to have when you can just buy Happy. Paddy Pan has said on stream, or at least words of words, that he has a wrist injury, and that is one of the reasons that the Gladiators acquired Happy. Unknown for when Paddy Pan is going to be able to play again consistently and with a lot of practice. So they decided to sign Happy. So now they have Happy, Arns, and Kevster as their DPS line. And yet they're still losing. I think it's just a pretty bad stage overall from the Gladiators. They are still a great team, and I've been dishing out some hopium and some copium for the Gladiators fans. They played some really tough teams. The Gladiators, they went to map 5 in 2 of their matches. One against the... Who did they go to map 5 against? They went to map 5 against Houston, and they went to map 5 against the Fuel? Or was it? Yeah, so it was map 5 against Dallas, map 5 against Houston, and this is when Houston was good. Like, this is when Houston was popping off like crazy with Merit and Pelican. They've since, sort of decided they're going to be bad again. But, Dallas Fuel looks to be one of the strongest teams in the league. They went to 3-1 with the Shock, and they go 3-1 here with Toronto Defiant. So they've played against probably 4 of the strongest teams, if you count when Houston was playing well, in the tournament right now. So you need to give them a little bit of slack. Yes, I understand that they need to be able to win those matches, but it's not like Gladiators are 0-4 and they're just incredibly mediocre. I genuinely believe that the Gladiators are about... I think the Gladiators are probably the 5th or the 6th best team in the West right now. I don't think they're, some people want to put them 8th because they're 0-4, 9th, 10th. They're not that bad. And I think they should hopefully be able to win their next 2 matches pretty convincingly. But it comes down to if you believe they're going to try in the last 2 matches. Are they going to try and give some other people some reps on this in this meta? Will we see Space pick up the Junker Queen, right? Reiner was very outspoken in a tweet after they went 0-2 in the opening weekend about Blizzard picking up a no-skill meta. Let's actually bring up the tweet because I think this is very important.
With Toronto on a hot streak, do you see them beating most teams in the West?
I see Toronto beating most teams in the West. Do I see them beating Dallas Fuel or San Francisco Shock? Unlikely. So where's the Sam tweet? Here we go. So this is Sam's tweet, but this is actually what Reiner tweeted after the first weekend, and this is important. So, Reiner said, impressive that the devs managed to make a 0-skill meta. Don't even call this salty because it's legitimately true. You see teams like Glad, Shock, and Rain dropping maps in series to teams that should never be able to touch them, and it's really the only conclusion that you can come to. And he posted this picture with it as well. So, obviously, yes, it's salty as hell, but he has a point. This is I wouldn't say it's a no-skill meta. I think it's a very different skill. I think it's a lot about team synergy, and it has sort of squished the pack together because it is, I think individual mechanical skill and pop-off moments are less important than being able to use ultimates as a team, coordinate, have that level of structure. And since then, you know, it doesn't feel like the Gladiators have ever truly been in this tournament and in this meta. So that could have something to do with it. You know, just not happy with the meta and the way that the game is playing. When you don't believe in it as much, it's easier to, I guess, fumble the bag a little bit. But yeah, so they, you know, I do want to reiterate though, I do not think the Gladiators they're that weak of a team. And I think a lot of people are writing them off. And I hope we get to see a better look from them. But it's cool to be able to know that we're going to have a different team win the tournament. We're either going to have, like, you know, as I said in the West, 3 front runners. I would say it'd be Dallas, Shock, and Toronto. It'll be cool to see if Shock can win a tournament, you know, with their new roster. They've been so close so many times. Dallas Fuel, obviously, would be cool to see them back on top. And Toronto, if they win their own LAN, dude, that's going to be a storyline and a half. So with that going, let's start talking about the let's start talking about this game a little bit.
If this is a no skill meta, then why does Jimmy fuck then? I'm curious.
That is true. You can't argue with the results. Jimmy fucks in a 0 skill meta. It's the only answer. So we get an early rampage because there's no support also from the Gladiators. Oh, Kevster just rolled all though. And so let's actually talk about this because, like, where did it go wrong for the Gladiators? That's like the question a lot of people are asking me. And realistically, I think the backline has not lived up to the expectations that we have for them as a backline, right? You know, we know how good Funny Astro and Scooter are on their respective heroes, Lucio and Brig. But I think they've been struggling to find that, like, synergy and coordinations, especially with their defensive ultimates. It feels like we're seeing a lot of ultimate stacking. Feels like we're seeing a lot of mistakes come from that side. Because, like, Happy has been great on the team in the matches that he's played. Kevster is Kevster. Like, Kevster is never the problem. And then I think the other issue is that Reiner just has not looked very comfortable on that Junker Queen in comparison to some of these others. You need to help me understand something throughout this game. Hisu and Ashe, please explain how it works and why. So Ashe is a different setup to the way that the Sojourn functions. So Sojourn is good at, you know, stepping up with the team, getting in people's face, have the disruptor shot to, you know, deal with the group up. And then you obviously have the rails that can open up fights. Ashe has long range consistent damage, and the way that players have explained it in interviews and stuff like that is that Ashe is better at just sitting in long sightline maps and just pumping out consistent damage. So, like, you see that if the Ashe is able to shoot, the damage that you can do is quite high and quite consistent compared to a Sojourn who's really just charging up on that left click, not really doing a lot of damage, and then hoping that you hit that one rail shot. Like, if you're not hitting the rails on Sojourn, you're not really having any impact at all. Compared to Ashe, who has the dynamite, has nice poke damage and all that kind of stuff that can open up fights and be more consistent. Some teams have prioritized playing the Ashe over the Sojourn. It seems, I think people are leaning more towards the Sojourn, but some people really like the Ashe. And Bob has aimbot, yeah. So Bob is almost always going to get some form of value, in my opinion. It's going to force positions. It's either going to get negated by an ultimate and stuff like that, but at least it's doing something. Well, I think Overclock is a dangerous ultimate in the fact that it's very easy to get no value. It's very easy to get punished while using the value and that kind of stuff. So let's go to the middle for this fight. Actually, let's get Reiner pop. Let's get some Reiner Junker Queen pop. Because, you know, I think a lot of people like to talk that, like, Reiner's Junker Queen isn't that good, but if you ask why it isn't good, I'm sure a lot of people couldn't give you a genuine answer other than Gladiators are losing, Reiner's stats aren't that good. He has like 25% knife accuracy, yeah. Does anyone have that, the statistics of Junker Queens, actually, on hand? He's about to get booped. Yeah, he was crossing that distance. I'm like, there's no way he makes that distance. He has some questionable positioning. How much do you think the positioning is relevant to the backline struggling as well? Like, what if it's a three-way disconnect rather than just a two-way disconnect with Skewed, Funny Asher, and Reiner, that it doesn't feel like they're coordinating together? Perfect, thank you. 1 second. So let's actually pull up the stats while we're here. Be thorough with this. So here are the Junker Queen stats for right now. Where we stand. In weeks 15 and 16 for 50 plus minutes. So this is the first 2 weeks. So Hanbin is the GOAT, as we all know. Hanbin is just going absolutely fucking crazy. His rampage kills is crazy along with Bernard. He does some of the most damage alongside Hawk. Hawk does giga amounts of damage, which is kind of crazy. 9.6k. I would love to know why his numbers are so high, other than him just being a legend of the sport. Like, what is he? Because his numbers don't really say that much. Like, he has high wound up time, but other than that, it doesn't feel like his numbers are crazy high. He has good final blows, but Hawk's doing well given the situation. But so let's look at Reiner. Reiner is down here, only doing about 8k damage per 10. He has very low final blows, but you know, you need to look at stats with a grain of salt. Every time, Overwatch is such a team-based game that you can't just look at stats and be like, this is bad, so therefore he is bad. You need to understand why. So Gladiators are 0-4, so their stats are always going to be worse, but they have had close maps, so it should probably be higher. Like, this is a very low number of final blows, probably one of the lowest, actually. He just higher than Dante and Gaga. Right, so he's very low on final blows on Junker Queen. This whole thing is sorted in the way of jagged blade kills per 10 minutes. I don't really know why, but he's pretty low on jagged blade kills. That's probably relevant to the final blows. His accuracy is 26, which is kind of low, but not the worst in the league. Carnage kills, wound up time, rampage kills. So his rampages aren't getting that much value. Like, he has some of the worst rampages in the league as well. He's second to bottom in rampage kills, just beating Vestola, which, you know, that's not a good number, right? So you can look at this and you can understand why people are speaking about Reiner. He definitely is just not getting value. Like, as I said, take stats with a grain of salt, but if all of them are this drastically low, then there's something definitely going on here. And a lot of people have attributed it to positioning. So we'll have to talk about that. Where's Hopper, actually, while we're just sort of on this list? So Hopper's down here as well. His Jagged Blade kills are quite low. But he has a solid... Actually, no, that's really, really bad. Actually, his Jagged Blade percentage. Which is probably his biggest issue. Like, his Jagged Blade kills per 10. So Hopper's Jagged Blades are bad. That's actually crazy. I wonder why that is. He is only one above Kalush. Carnage kills are quite high. Interesting. He does a lot of damage though. So there we go. There's some stats. Just sort of thought I'd throw them in there for you guys. Just to add a little bit of context to what we've been talking about. It's been so cool to have these stats come out and just sort of like paint a basic picture. I really hope we get to a point when Overwatch 2 is fully released for OWL, in which they can show stats mid-match. Like, in between rounds and stuff like that, they can show stats. That'd be really cool. And like after the map's finished, just give like a 5 to 10 second screen, like, still of the numbers. Do you think they're investing in shooting the brick? No, I don't think the issue, like, theoretically they should be fine, right? Like, Skewed was historically one of the best bricks that we had in the league. So you can't be too... Actually, I'm going to go to Happy. You can't be too upset that they put Skewed onto it. Yeah, Shu's a great player, and he probably could have played the Brig. Would they have been better? Who knows? But the logical option was to play Skewed Funny Astra. Who would have thought Hawk would be number 1 in damage conceding range performance? Hawk's a great junk queen. Like, don't get... Oh, wow, nice. Don't get me... Like, I think everyone's aware that, like, how good of a tank player Hawk is. I don't think a lot of the Atlanta range struggles have been on the back of Paul. Dude, Happy's so fucking good. Holy shit. Alright, so Kevster gets a free blade against no support ultimates. I wouldn't say Horse Junkweed is great. I think it's good. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I would say he's not the problem with the rain right now. Jimmy clears, unfortunately. Dude, Happy got more kills than Jimmy did in an entire match, I feel like. I said it, chat. Such a beautiful light. Thank you for the 10 months. Slander. Alright, good. Clean kill under Hisu. Oh, wow. Hopper just murdered him. Pretty good Rhino Rampage. What the? Dude, Astro's crazy. That was actually crazy by Astro that that even worked. But there it is. Trying to get the first map 2-0. With a pretty clean first map. I feel like I like the Ashe more on Ilios. Because I feel like there's a lot more situations where you can just play back and shoot down, right? Like, Hisu can just sit on the high ground. Watch Rhino shouts. Okay, let's get Rhino pop for this map. Let's have a deep dive into Rhino Junker Queen. Who do you think is going to play next stage, Happy or Patty? I think Happy should play. I think you're better off giving Patty a proper rest, especially Junker Queen's meta. I think Happy is... Honestly, I think Happy is a better hit scan than Patty Pen. Just straight up. On Sojourn, on Ashe, on Widowmaker, all that kind of stuff. I think Patty is obviously has the ability to play other things like, you know, Genji and that kind of shit. Like, he's more of a flex DPS that can play hit scan. So he has that value. But if we're just saying pure hit scan, Happy is a better play. Might take Happy over Arns. I think I'd probably still play Arns only on Widowmaker, but it's close. Like, Happy, I like Happy a lot. Oh, Reiner is just... Oh, okay, it's fine. Okay, that was a good counter dive on Aldo. I don't know why Aldo went for that. That was a weird engage by Aldo. Graphleaf, thank you very much for the 16 months. What a way to celebrate Sweet 16. Watching Sadiators reach a peak of sadness. Only thing I could wish for besides this VOD is Jimmy fucking. Oh, we just watched Jimmy fucking. We just watched the a VOD of the Charge versus the Valiant. I'm not gonna upload it to YouTube, but it does exist on my Twitch channel if you want to check that out. Goes to you YouTube boys as well. If you want to watch Jimmy do some fucking, I did do that. Alright, good first point, Cap. I think that all goes back to the although overextension. For those saw the low target and got greedy, yeah, I assume that's what happened, right? Went for the dash reset, didn't get it, and then just die. How come it's not going on YouTube? Because I took 2 days off, and you know we are watching this on a Thursday, and ours starts on Friday. I don't want to oversaturate my YouTube channel in one day. So we're only gonna have one VOD review. It's my fault because I didn't get to watch many VODs earlier in the week. As I said, the VOD is available on my Twitch. If you guys, all those VODs are free. If you come to my Twitch channel, go to the VODs, the recent broadcasts, and you watch my Thursday broadcast, you'll be able to find me watching the Charge. Make sure to use your Twitch Prime while you're here. Alright, good play by Reiner. Toronto's kind of getting bopped right now. You can watch Jimmy fucking for free? I know. We live in a great world. Toronto just needs to play. They're just getting staggered. Like, this is like the classic case of like, oh, we lost one. Let's like half back up, but try and control the space. And then you like just keep feeding. Like people, oh, this person dies. Oh shit, we gotta give up more space, but we don't want to give up all the space. And they just, it ends up with that constant cycle of like feeding and then never really resetting. Who do you think is going to get nominated for MVP? I think Proper is MVP at this point. I think it's hard to argue with that as well at this point. So unless Proper starts sucking or someone really pops off, I think it's probably going to go to Proper. Classic Plat games, yeah. Counter argument, Jimmy. Smurf is in the combo right now. I don't agree with that. Like I would like I agreed with you after the kickoff clash. I think it was Smurf, Prophet, Kevster, Proper. But after the mid-season tournament and the Soul Dynasty, even though it wasn't Prophet and Smurfs, like it's just hard to, in my opinion, nominate those people when they fell out so hard in the mid-season tournament. So as I said, maybe if Smurf or Prophet have a crazy next couple of stages, I could get on board. But I find it hard to do. Yeah, it's the same with Harbin. I agree. Like, it's the same with Harbin. Harbin just didn't play in the mid-season. It's hard to vote for someone MVP when they didn't really even play. Prophet was still going strong. Yeah, but he didn't, like, the team didn't perform, so we didn't get to see him compete against the West, right? Like, the mid-season, like, let's be honest, right? The mid-season tournament was probably the biggest argument that you're gonna get for an MVP nomination, right? Like, because I believe we're going to be voting for Rookie of the Year and MVP before the playoffs, right? Because that's usually how it works. So that was the only international event that we will play before we vote for MVP and Rookie of the Year. And if you don't perform in that tournament, then it's very hard, in my opinion, to justify making someone MVP or Rookie of the Year if you didn't perform in that tournament. And even though Proper didn't win, like the Shock didn't win, Proper, in my opinion, was the most valuable player of that tournament. You can make an argument for Shy or Kevster, but yeah. I personally believe it's Proper. Like, I think Proper was better than Kevster in the upper bracket round, and then they went kind of even in the grand finals. Catboy Waifus, thank you for the 6 months. Is the Countdown Cup not going to be international? No, there is no LAN for the Countdown Cup as far as I'm aware. It's only, I think it goes from the Countdown Cup into play-ins. I could be wrong about that, but as far as I remember, there's only 2 LANs and the playoffs. Countdown Cup is play-ins, yeah, like the Countdown Cup. Okay, that was a big rampage by Reiner. That was not close there from the Gladiators.
0 to 3, switching sides. Initiating match.
Glads are so happy. Yeah, Glads are like, oh, we're back, guys. Don't worry.
Ready for battle.
I swear every time I open YouTube chat of Al, I see people trash taking Proper, and I'm so sick of it. It is a consistent thing in all levels of high-end competition that people just hate the person who is on top. Because generally, the reason they hate that person is because that person discredits whoever they are a fan of, right? People by nature are going to hate you if you are the best. As I said, well, not everyone, right? There are people who applaud Proper's success and applaud Proper and that kind of stuff, but there is a large percentage of people, a surprising percentage of people who will dislike someone just because of how good they are. And as I said, it's primarily because it discredits whoever they like. You know, it's like, if you looked at the number of Dallas Fuel fans who probably dislike Proper, it's probably a lot. So that's why everyone hates me? Exactly. Although, once again, overextending pretty crazily. That's the weirdest thing ever, yeah. YouTube chat is 90% complain about the casters. Guys, if you want my hot take, if you are reading YouTube chat, you are doing it wrong. YouTube chat is hell on earth. I swear to God. I don't know why it is that much worse than Twitch chat, but it is. And it's just, you're not going to gain anything valuable from there. Oh, there's Happy got himself isolated. That was a good dagger by Hopper to pull him back in. The casters are all great this year. Yeah, I think the casters are great this year. I think we have a good... Here's the thing. I think the best thing about our caster pairs is I understand why some people don't like this caster or some people don't like this caster because it's just not the style they like, right? But I think we have a really good broad spectrum of types of casters, right? Like there are people that are like very analytical. There are some that are very fun. There are some that are very memey. There are some that are like, you know, X, Y, Z, right? Like there's a good mix of all casters, which is the way it should be. You don't want everyone to be in the same thing, and people of what they think makes a good caster is very subjective. So you're never gonna please everyone. Okay, so after losing a couple of picks, the Gladiators are holding on second now. And then there's also classic sexism, as I said. Just don't go into YouTube chat. Literally, people in YouTube chat, they find it fun to troll and just be sexist and racist. Like, if by the only way they win is if you acknowledge them. Just ignore them and they will go away. Dude, the Jungle Queen healing is actually so low. I love the aggression. I love that Twilight, like, they use the rally early and they just isolate everyone, right? Gets Custa isolated, they push forward, then they follow it up with a great rampage. That was really well played by Toronto. Like, just looking at that from Reiner's pod, you can see how oppressive the way that Toronto just played. They just kept the gas on, and they never gave Gladiators the room to just, like, reset, right? In the same way the Gladiators did against Toronto.
Good to see you. Hello. Hi. Okay, I'm ready to go. Hello.
I may be super old-fashioned, but to me what makes a good cast is if the game can be understood from the radio. That's where the analyzing becomes a big deal. Yeah, absolutely, right? But there are some people who, like, they don't want that, right? There are some people who want the big calls. There are some people who want pure analysis. They want to hear someone, like, really break down the game. There are some people who don't want deep analysis. They want memes and fun and stuff like that, right? You're never gonna please everyone. Can we see Astro Ajax again? No. I don't like highlighting the Ajaxes because I've been there. People are getting better about booping these rampages. Good rampage. If you use rampage and they don't have support ultimates, that should be, in my opinion, a guaranteed fight win. Like, you should not be losing a fight. Like, even that, like, getting one pick, they win the fight, but it wasn't a great cleanup. It's not the worst, but it's also not the best. I think this is a bait by Hopper. I think Hopper just baited Reiner in there. Wait, what is happening? Did they realize Reiner's still behind them? It's like they forgot Reiner was there. But I'm actually, am I curious? Like, I feel like Hopper baited Reiner into pushing him here. Like, he baited them all in and he had shout, and then they, like, look at that counter dive by Chorong and Although. Soon as Hopper gets pressured, Chorong and Although come back to dive. They get a dynamite on top of it, and then Reiner just gets stuck behind. I actually genuinely think Hopper thought that Reiner left. Like, I genuinely don't think Hopper knows that he's behind until that moment. That's a good rally by Twilight, actually. I like that as well. By rallying, you guarantee that you're going to win that skirmish pretty convincingly, but they need to go more aggressive. Oh, Happy gets Although on the way out, though. It's kind of unfortunate. So that rally wasn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be. Does Atlanta still have a chance to make the tournament? Yeah. What are they, 1 and 2? They can easily go 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. Like, you can qualify at 3 and 3 if you have a good map record. And if you get 4 and 2, you're 4 and 2. I'm pretty sure you're guaranteed in. Okay, beat. Kevster beats. And alright, so that's Rally Blade for Beat Blade. Skewed is not putting that overhealth on anyone. Why is he not getting overhealth on anyone?
This ends now.
Oh, that was not very good ultimate usage by the Glads. Look at how good that disengage was, though. So we're in this situation, like they both use the blades and the defensives. It's over. So they shout. Happy answers with an overclock. Look at how quickly they disengage, even with Hopper low. They disengage. Funny Astro also beats. I actually don't know why Funny Astro beats. Why does Funny Astro beat there? Oh, Kevster gets kind of low. But they had shout. Yeah, that was a pretty bad beat by Funny Astro there. I don't think it was necessary at all. But that was a great disengage by the Defiant as well. Tempo beat. I think it was a good tempo. I agree that it was a tempo beat. But the Toronto Defiant played like a fiddle. Good late bob. I actually really like this bob. Like using a bob in the middle of a fight, like this is why you can justify that bob is better than overclock. Like if you pop it at the right time, it's so oppressive. Funny Astro has been having some sus early beats. Gladiators and Astro definitely like to use a tempo beat where like what they do is the beat allows them to just and gives them the confidence to play aggressive. I just think they've had too many situations like that where they use in a meta in which I think the beat is needed for either the blade or the rampage. I don't know if you can use tempo beats like that unless you're guaranteed to close out the fight or you're gonna save someone, right? Like even overclock beats pretty good against overclock. But they do it a lot. Can you explain to what a tempo beat is? A tempo beat is essentially when you use the beat to give your team the ability to go aggressive and up the tempo, essentially. So you're in a neutral, you're both fighting. A tempo beat essentially means that all of a sudden you up the tempo and you up the aggression and you go forward with it. You're not using the sound barrier to answer a different ultimate, or when someone is low, you are using it purely to get your team to go more aggressive. And you're using it as an aggressive tool so that you can overrun them and overwhelm them before the beat runs out. Essentially engaging with it. Thoughts on Ashe over Sojourn? I think there's a time and a place for both. I think Ashe actually makes a lot of sense. I think I prefer the Sojourn on this map than I do the Ashe. Depends on the point. Anywhere where there's a really long sightline that the Ashe can just play back and throw dynamites into a choke, I think is better. Is really good, but I think Sojourn everywhere else. Dallas did that quite a lot. Yeah, as I said, I don't think tempo beating is a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's that bad to engage. You just need to use it correctly, right? Because it's very costly if you don't use it effectively in this meta because of, as I said, with the ultimates. Yeah. Rhino went way too aggressive into that room. Like, this is probably the positioning stuff that people are talking about. Like, yes, they're Funny Astro down, so maybe he's like, I need to make a play. But walking into this room is a one-way ticket, right? Like, they were probably dead, but like, you can make an argument that if he had disengaged into this room or disengaged back this way, maybe Happy would have got a kill and they could have won the fight, you know?
Lucky shot. Objective lost.
Generally, supporters find more value being used defensively or just reactively, right? Like, playing so passive. Look at the ult charge difference between Hopper and Rhino right now. Like, Rhino's just really not doing a crazy amount. Hopper maybe overextended. Good Rhino shout. So Kevster used Blade. They use Beat in response. Rhino's getting too low. Good beat by Funny Astro. Doesn't save Kevster though, which is a problem. But I think the beat should still be good, yeah. Twilight not getting the rally off was like, is probably going to be the thing that loses them this fight. If Twilight had lived just long enough to get that rally, because that was essentially the big advantage that Toronto had was that Hopper had the Rampage first. But Twilight didn't get the rally out, so they just didn't have the sustain in comparison to the Gladiators. Rhino too passive? I don't think it's too passive there. I think he just wasn't getting the damage, and they lost the first fight pretty convincingly. Like he was keeping pace with Hopper in that second point. It was more just on that first point. Do you think Glads would have a different record if Patty wasn't injured? You can make that argument because they would have had a consistent Sojourn player like throughout all 4 of their matches, but I don't think like Happy was not the problem in these Gladiators matches. You can make an argument that like the Ashe on Arns in the first 2 series that they played at this stage, or the Showdown, were a problem, but yeah. Why is he not throwing daggers? Should at least be throwing some daggers, right? Ooh. Okay, it looks like this fire truck is very protected. Okay, good damn. Yeah, that was a good play.
I'm turning up the heat. G'day. Gotta go quick. Objective A.
I put your preds into a standing calculator? Wait, what do you mean by preds? Like my pick'ems?
I'm on the payload. Get over here.
But as I said, I think it's, yeah, off CNN. I would say that would probably be a result once again of the quality of teams that they're playing against, because I probably predicted them to lose a lot because of the quality of the teams they go against, right? Like, I think the problem that exists right now is that the schedule is very skewed. And I think for that reason, I think the Vancouver Titans are being massively overhyped, and I think the Gladiators are being massively slept on. Obviously, it's going to be hard to like justify my Gladiators point because they're knocked out of the tournament, so it's not like they can make a run later in this stage. But yeah. Skewed is pretty. Fucking guys. All right, Gladiators get the win. That was very clean overtime push. And yeah, like those are the times that the Gladiators look good. And like, here's my point. The Gladiators don't look bad. Like, I don't think in any of their matches do they look really bad. I think they just, they do a couple of weird things with the defensive ultimates. They have a couple of bad mistakes. People get picked off a little bit here and now, but they are not that bad of a team. And I think they just went up against a very strong team.
And don't screw this up.
Did you see Kev's Genji stats? They have great individual skill, but not this meta as a team. Well, like, people keep saying that, right? Like, individually they're great, but they're not doing well as a team. It's like, but that's so hard to like contextualize, right? Like, what do you mean? What do we mean when we say they're not playing well as a team? Like, that's the hard thing that I think exists right now, is we don't really know why people aren't playing well as a team. I would say the biggest issues that I've seen so far, just from like looking at this with a little bit more of a microscope, is Reiner's positioning gets a little bit punished, of like he sometimes gets himself a little off kilter, and that creates this disconnect, and also their defensive ultimates are weaker. Those are really the things that are costing them a couple of fights that they probably could win.
Young that my body couldn't keep up with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
As I said, I hope that the Gladiators do make it to the tournament. I would love for Gladiators to make it to the tournament, because I would love for them to prove everyone wrong. Because I don't think Glads are this bad, but I just don't think they can qualify. I think it's so unlikely. I've seen a bunch of statistics of how they can make it at a 2-4 record, but I don't know. Something I thought of, in contenders during matches, they'll have states for a certain players pop up during a map on the sides. Well, it's because like North American contenders, like most people are American, so states are more relevant than country. They don't do it now because there's more important for countries. Stats. Oh, right. I was like, states. I'm like, that. I've never seen that. But I was like, that could totally be a thing
If
that they could do.
Glads had the Jimmy Queen instead of Reiner, they would be 4-0 right now.
Ah, yes, the Jimmy Queen, the thing of legends. Production quality diffs? It's just, you know. I'm not going to speak to it. I'm not going to speak to it. It's whatever. That stuff is cool, though. If they can have stats and they can put those kind of stats in, that's really awesome. It definitely adds to their broadcast. I hope we get to see more stats in the future. Alright, they're keeping tempo. Kev's just getting Hisu. We're vibing. Stats are only used for the stories they tell. I was talking to someone else about this recently, and it's like stats in Overwatch. I think the biggest issue that exists in Overwatch when people look at statistics is they have a story in their mind. They find a number or a statistic that proves their story correct, and then they just present it as fact because they've put an idea in their mind. They've seen a stat that correlates to what they're trying to say, and then they use that. Stats aren't as black and white as that. There are so many, in a situation where you have 5 different players on a team, another person's decisions and gameplay can heavily impact how someone else's stats look. So stats need to be taken with a heavy, heavy grain of salt whenever you talk about these things. And you should just use them as like a broad strokes way to talk about these kind of things. But I think there are some people who use them as too much concrete evidence of certain things that they believe. Confirmation bias, I guess, is the proper term of how you say it, and that's 100% true, right? Like, it's a big problem that I think exists, especially in Overwatch. But especially because there's so many things that matter more than stats in Overwatch, because stats get inflated and deflated for whatever reason so many times. That was not a good blade by, although good beat response by Funny. Astro skewed, throws out a rally a little bit later. Why did Twilight rally? When did Twilight rally? Sorry, I'm going back. Yeah, the rally was fine, but it was a good disengage by the Gladiators, right? And I think this is, although forcing the blade was a mistake here.
Custa is right, chat. Stats aren't everything. We know Jimmy is the GOAT.
Oh,
the
fuck
stats
me.
just lie.
The stats just lie, and that's why Jimmy's the GOAT. True. Sorry, the game just crashed. Crash moment, yeah. Sorry. The double beat bug.
Ready for battle.
So we can't go back and watch the rest of that fight, but the Gladiators win it. Moral of the story is Gladiators win it. If we go back, it'll crash again. So Gladiators win that fight. Pog champion. Do I need to change this? No. Nice. So now we have Reiner with the Rampage as well. See what he does with this, because they don't have the support ults. So as I said earlier, if you have a Rampage and they don't have support ults, then you should be in a good spot. So this has been a really good hold by the Glads. And like the big deal is that the Toronto Defiant just fucked up that ultimate push. So now they need to get big value. Oh wow, that was good play with, oh yeah, that was, oh, and then Hopper uses that. I guess it is kind of final fight. Oh wow, Bob going crazy. Right now, I'm gonna need you to do more damage. Thank you. His Jagged Blades are definitely not perfect. Oh, wow, he just murdered that brig. Nice play. That was good at the end. That was great at the end by Rhino.
Score 0.
Glad to lose this map. You're about to see a masterclass by the Toronto Defiant of how you're supposed to hold Dorado. You guys want, although a Chorong pop, let's give it Chorong pop. Let's give Chorong some love. Let's get some Lucio pop. Because I think he does a lot of great peeling.
1.
And this goes back into it as well, right? The Gladiators are very close to winning. They should win this map. They full held. You should win a map in which you full hold. Nice. That was a really good heal lamp right there. This is actually a problem because that oh, Happy dying there is such a problem. Like, they were in such a good spot until Happy dies. Because Happy had such a good defensible position in spawn. Ryan needs to be prohibited from teabagging every time he does it. Other team Uno reverse cards in. Live by the teabag, die by the teabag, you know? Like, look at that dive. It's so nice. Forces out the shout. Gives himself, keeps positioning. Reset, right? Just making the Glads not feel comfortable just standing there. Oh, that was... Careful, Chorong. Oh, Reiner's way in. Alright, they commit to him. I liked it. That was good cover. They got the corner now. At least parts of it. And look at how much, like, think about how much damage Hisu is doing here, right? Like, Hisu is just sitting here, just throwing in dynamites into this choke, shooting people down in this choke. That bob wasn't great. I don't know if I love the rally. Like, while the bob is still going, because they don't really want to push into the rally. Although he pops his blade, does not die, which is really big. Rally comes out later by Twilight, so then all of a sudden Funny Astro has to beat. Why does Funny Astro beat? Did they rally? I think they just rallied and beat it at the exact same time. Or has the rally been going for a while? Rally's been going for a while. Not that long. So they use both their support ultimates there. While Chorong is able to hold his. I guess there's no blade, so I think he's just worried about the blade. I don't know if he needed to pop the beat into the blade because the rally was still going. So Chorong's beat comes later, right? And that's the determining factor of how it opens up. Kevs is also very far behind in blade percentage. So like that is the big difference, right? They don't have that threat or the bob, right? Like they don't have either of those. That was an aggressive rampage, but it pays off, right? So here was the thing that me and Johnny were talking about that is like the big thing. This is like everything before this was great Toronto play, and you can like be like, they're just using their ultimates better, they're using them more, they're getting them faster and they're using them faster. So therefore they have an advantage, right? And that's what gives them 2.5 minutes. Here is the fuck up by the Gladiators. This is where it goes wrong for the Gladiators. They get greedy. They know they have 3 ultimates where the Toronto Defiant have none. So instead of just coming out and being confident with these ultimates, they try and get as much value as they can from all of them. So what's going to happen is Reiner's going to use his rampage and not get enough value, and then Happy is going to try and follow that up with a overclock, right? So we got the overclock, but then Kevsa dies completely regardless of that. Happy gets got by Hisu, and they lose this fight, right? You're like, shit. Well, Happy uses overclock. We tried to go in with only that ultimate, and now it's not going to work. And the reason that I think this was greedy is this should have been the fight that Reiner uses Rampage. They should have used 2 of these 3 ultimates. I don't care which combination you want to use, but they need to use 2 of these 3. Because they tried to get away with only Happy using his, overclock is such a variable ultimate, right? That like it could either do nothing or it could kill a bunch of people. It didn't get anyone, right? So now all of a sudden they have their backs against the wall, but more importantly, Hisu's almost at another bob, right? if Hisu gets another bob, all of a sudden they're in trouble. Reiner got it after Kev died, yeah, so he didn't want to use the Rampage, but maybe they should have gone in with Blade and Overclock, right? Like, Blade should be free, they don't have ultimates. So now, Reiner's gonna come in, and he's gonna try and get a Rampage. So Rampage comes out, hits only Hopper because he's trying to force it, which isn't great. But the most important thing is I think Kevster wants to save his blade, right? So they get Hopper, and Kevster's like, well, we don't need my blade then, right? But then Hisu gets Funny Astro, although he gets happy and he's like, oh shit, oh, we need my blade. He still doesn't want to use the blade. All of a sudden there's a bob out, and you're like, fuck. We don't have a thing. He's got rally going, he's got nothing going for him, but he needs to pop it because we're going into last fight. Pops it late. Can't really get anything done. Although he gets a second blade, laps Kevster, and that's the issue. So they got 2 DPS ults. Both of the DPS got 2 DPS ults in that round compared to the 1. And I think it just goes back to the level of greed of they just wanted to save these ultimates so that they can close out the fight here, which isn't bad, but I just feel like they maybe weren't ready for their level of defense that the Defiant had. The Defiant are just in such a good spot with the setup that they have that they needed to use more ultimates to break it. Toronto recovered. Yeah, Toronto did a great job. And I think this goes back to is they don't have an answer for Hisu, right? And like, I'm sure if we looked back at a lot of the issues that are happening, almost all of the issues probably come back from the fact that Hisu is just sitting up here, right? Just picking. So everyone's always having to deal with it. Kevster is probably in a constant state of trying to deal with Hisu, right? And like, Hisu is just shooting down, right? This is the fight that they have a good spot. They have no answer to Hisu. Hisu's just sitting here shooting at people in comparison to Happy, who's playing the Sojourn, who's just like, so he just didn't get any picks. You know, if he doesn't get those picks of Sojourn, then he's not really offering enough. And that's sort of where it goes wrong. So I don't think, like, that wasn't even, in my opinion, a massive failure by the Glads. Like, that was just a little bit of greed that ends up coming to get them. That happens to all these teams, especially on points like, you know, first point holds and stuff like that, where you lose that one big ultimate cycle fight, and then you, like, they lost the fight where they used both their support ultimates, and then they weren't able to get value out of their other ultimates by playing a little greedy, because you walk into those fights with the expectation that you're going to win them because they don't have any ultimates. Guys look mad in the cam after the Dorado? Yeah, probably. A lot of these guys probably aren't used to losing a lot, right? Like, oh, 200 Toronto, yeah, let me oh, shoot, sorry. I want to keep getting some Rhino Pop, because I feel like Junker Queens are actually some of the best people to look at for understanding of what's going on in these fights. Shit, I want to get some funny Astro Pop, actually, now I think about it. It's funny, I'm like, Astro's just sort of chilling on healing, and I guess that's probably how you play this meta, right? Like, Lucio just says the thing. Oh, they're gonna beat in a 4v5. I don't hate it. They get responded with a beat, though. That was a great response by Churong. Recognizing that it was actually losable if he doesn't drop his own beat. Wait, skewed rallies as well! Like, right, like, these are the mistakes that the Gladiators are making that I think are the things that are determining whether or not they're winning or losing these fights. He just rallied in a 2v5? A 2v4? Remember people saying the Gladiators are gonna dominate? They should dominate in this meta. They have a good team. That's the shocking thing. The shocking thing isn't that they went 0-4. The shocking thing is that you thought they should be good in this meta. Shoot escape. Wow, it doesn't matter though. Escaping doesn't change anything. So now, like now they have a rally. They have rally blade. Happy pops the overclock into a rally blade, dies, but they don't have a defensive ultimate to live through the blade because they use them all. Right, like it's just like weird ultimate usage. Skew's gotta be careful about contesting this. Right, he's fine. Let's catch the blade. Support the weak link. I think in this meta, I think they've been struggling. Primarily ultimate usage. Oh, Hopper ult goes first. Alright, we need to get this blade soon, Custa. Time to pop this bad boy.
This ends now.
Right, like, this was their fight to use the blade. Like, the blade should be their tool. Yet they just haven't been able to find a window to use it. Like, he's gonna get lapped on ultimates, right? In the same way that it happened on Dorado. Like, even if he doesn't get a lot of kills, even if he only gets one kill, like, or forces positioning, or forces shout, like, they just need to go, right? Okay, there we go. There we go, that's nice, that's nice. So they do eventually get the value of it, because Kevster's a nut. Reiner died before Kevster was in a decent position. Yeah, but, like, that's a problem, right? You can't say that's Reiner's fault. That Reiner died before Kevster was in a decent position, right? Like, that, you can't just say that's Reiner's fault. Their team needs to go, as a team, be in a decent position because maybe Reiner went aggressive under the understanding that they were going to blade. And if they don't pull the blade, Reiner is all of a sudden out of position, even though he was trying to provide the space so that Kevster could blade, right? Like, just because one thing happens doesn't mean it's this person's fault if the other person isn't doing their job, right? And that goes back to the idea of positioning and stats and ultimate usage, right? It's not just one person's fault that they didn't get value from one ultimate. All right, let's see these support ultimates. Let's go funny here. Let's go Astro. It's more fun to blame Reiner. Yeah. All right, skewed rally. I like it. Go aggressive. Oh, there's a beating. Oh no! That was so unfortunate. No! Astro! Oh. Dude, why does he go so high? That has to be Chorong, right? Dude, that was a crazy alley-oop. That was nuts. That's so sad. That was such an unfortunate series of events. You can't even blame Astro for that. That was a fine beat. Oh man, that's such a bad fight to lose as well. Alright, now we get another Although Blade. When you get booed that high, dude, you're just in sheer panic because you can't do anything in the air, right? Once you get booted into the air like that, it's just sheer panic. Everyone who plays Lucio has been there. Where you end up in the air and you're just hoping that you hit the fucking ground. Oh. It wasn't awful because he did get one. That was a good punish by the backline of the Glads. Ooh, Ashe. Good target focus on the Twilight there. That was really well played by the Glads. Like that target focus just murdered Twilight. I have no idea, Devron. I know nothing to do about tokens or anything like that. You can't just zoom your mouse all over? Yeah, he probably, the best thing that Funny Astro probably could have done when he got booted into the air is to just start 360 spinning, right? But I think it's easy to forget to do that. Right, like, here's another fight where I think the Gladiators are just letting the, like, they have the same ultimates, but they're also coming up on Blade. It feels like Hopper just goes first. And it feels like they're just always playing so heavily on the back foot. It feels like Gladiators are waiting for the perfect moment to pop all their ultimates. They're trying to play like flowchart Overwatch, and Toronto's like, fuck it, we're going. No thoughts, head empty. Hopper's like fucking zug-zugging his way down the bot. And the Gladiators are like, no, you can't play like that. You need to play more efficient. And Hopper's like, hey, Rampage go, brrrr. It's working though, yeah. They're like, there is 100% something to be said about going first and going aggressive. Wow, that is a great blade by Custa. That is literally only a blade, and he won the fight with that. That was big by Custa. Top tier analysis. I'm glad I can help you guys.
Steady. We're almost there. We're on the move.
They're literally just going back and forth to the thing. Oh, it's time to go. It's time to hit the rampage. I'm surprised he hasn't rampaged yet, right? Like, oh, I guess that hold is gonna close that fight. Wait, there's no way they lose this fight, right? There's no, how do they lose this? Like this, how do you lose this fight? Like, Reiner actually holds this rampage like a champ, waits out the beat, waits out the shout, and then gets a 4-man rampage. And nobody dies. Like, how do they not kill? Where's everyone else? Where is everybody else? What are we all doing here? Huh? We need to get some aggression. They're all purple. They're all one. And then Twilight's gonna rally late. That's crazy. I would be pissed if I was Reiner. That Gladiators should not have lost this fight. They did get the butt scratch though. I guess maybe like that's why it happened. The Gladiators were more worried about getting the butt scratch and winning the fight. There should have been more aggression by the rest of the team there, I think. 100%. They should never lose that fight. Although Blade, yo, those got to stop dying on these Blades. That was a little bit too aggressive. Like, I understand they don't have a defensive ult, but that's the second time he's died in this fight. Last time he at least got a kill, so he traded, but yeah, I was a little too aggressive by Olo there. Oh, he still gets Funny Astro on the way out. Kind of a big deal, actually. Those late kills are actually such a big deal. So the reason those late kills are a big deal is if they don't get, I think it was 2 late kills. They are 4 people strong here. They push the bot faster. And they probably get like 1 meter, or like they might get a couple of meters because Hopper doesn't want to walk up. But because they lose both of those people, all of a sudden they can't push the bot that much further. So therefore they don't get any more meterage other than the checkpoint. The bot doesn't go faster the more people are on it. Yes, okay, but it's not about it going faster with more people on it. It's about the number of people that you have. If they were 4 people, they didn't lose those people, they probably would have cleaned them up like 1-2 seconds faster. The bot would have started moving faster, and the bot moving, like, it would have started moving in less amount of time. Sorry, let's not say faster. Their bot would have got to around here, and Hopper wouldn't have been willing to defend the payload as much as 1 person versus 4, rather than 1 person versus 2. Custa gets booty bopped off the bat. Happy versus Hisu. The Hisu's least versus if you're happy. If you know it, clap your hands. Who wins? Hisu. So that's a clean closeout there from the Toronto Defiant. They have Rampage. The Rampage is really going to be the big difference. It comes down to the support ultimates of the Gladiators once again. Final fight territory. Let's get an overhead view of this one. Okay, so they don't want to get... So Hopper gets the ultimate. It's big. Okay, Skewed has the rally, so the Gladiators kind of want to just sort of group up for this one. Oh, Kevster gets got. Like, I don't know how you have 2 people die during a rally here. Like, where they should have the shout from Reiner as well. So they have... So Reiner gets the shout, and they have a rally. Kevster gets isolated over here and just gets too low. I don't know if he doesn't have deflect here. He doesn't have deflect. And he just gets too low. And then Happy gets absolutely fucking murdered. Yeah, like that was just good focus by the Toronto Defiant. Like the fact that they were able to get that many kills off of just that Rampage is kind of crazy. And they killed them before Funny Asher got the beat. And then Kevs has to come back with the blade, force a blade in a bad situation. Like, that was just a really bad fight for the Gladiators. And I don't even think they played it awfully. I think that was more Toronto playing it much better. Like, their ability to isolate targets in that situation is a lot harder than it looks. Whew. And the Gladiators lose that match 1-3. So Toronto wins 3-1. And takes the fucking 3-1 victory of this stage. Gladiators go 0-4 and are likely to not qualify for the Toronto tournament. Sadiators in full effect. It's kind of sad to see, you know, not expect to see the Gladiators in the land. They are one of the better teams to look at. As I said, I defend them with some copium. I don't think they're as bad as people think. But Defiant, I'm really excited to see more of this team. They look like this is the first time that they're ever gonna pop off. Let me show you something depressing, chat. You guys want to see something depressing? This is their records of all time. In 2020, they came 3rd/4th in the Summer Showdown. This doesn't even count because it's a play-ins. Them as a franchise have kind of sucked for too long. But they've never sucked super bad. They've only kind of sucked, right? Like when we call them the Toronto Mid-Fiant or the Mid-Ronto Def Mid, whatever you want to call them, this is why. They are literally the definition of mid. I hope we get to see Toronto do well. It'd be poetic if it was at their first land. They have a great roster. I'm excited to see them moving forward. But that's it for this VOD review. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry it was late this week, but I'll make it up to you guys in the coming weeks. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys next time.